get familiar. So if you don't know by now, then you should probably get familiar.
Hello students, so welcome back to discuss one more concept that is called couple. So in the previous video we have discussed the concept called moment of force, right? Now in continuation to that, okay, so just to distinguish between the moment of a force and the couple, so we need to understand the concept of couple with some examples, okay? So now you know that when a force is applied, so we get the two types of motion. What are that? So either it may be giving a translational motion to the body or rotational motion to the body, right? So now basically the rotation, okay, the effect is called rotation due to the application of the force is obtained by not a single force, it is obtained by always a pair of forces, okay? We need to apply a pair of forces. So due to the pair of forces only it is possible to get the rotation in a body. So what are the two pair of forces actually? So one is the external applied force, okay, the other one is the force of reaction at the pivot, okay, because a body is always fixed at the point called pivot, so it is rotating about that pivot as a axis of rotation, okay. So these two forces always constitute the couple, okay, that means couple consisting of two forces here, right? So now when you calculate the moment of force, so we are always considering the external force applied, okay, and then it is multiplied by the perpendicular distance between the pivot and the point of application of the force, right? So that product will always give you the moment of force for the external applied force. Similarly, how do you calculate the moment of force for the reaction at the pivot? The same condition, calculate the product of force of the reaction at the pivot and the distance between the point of application of the force and the pivot, but that distance is 0 in case of the force of reaction at the pivot, and hence the moment of force is not considered. It is almost equal to 0 because the perpendicular distance between the pivot and the force of reaction, okay, is always 0, and hence the moment of force is neglected. So we are observing always the rotation is possible in a given body, so due to the application of mainly external applied force only, okay. So when you calculate the moment of force, but in fact to rotate any body, okay, so even you can apply both two external forces also, okay, so that the body is made to rotate about the pivot. So such examples will constitute the couple. Now you just look at these examples to understand the concept of couple. So this is the first example. So we are considering a car wrench, okay. So what is that car wrench? So it is just like a spanner, okay. So at four sides we have the holes here, okay. So one of the hole can be fixed to the nut, okay, so that it is firmly holding the nut of a car, because the car nuts are very tightly fixed. So in order to open or close the nuts, so we need to consider this kind of device called car wrench, okay. Now this car wrench is fixed to a nut here, okay, and then to rotate, to remove the nut, so we need to rotate the wrench in the anti-clockwise direction, right? So we are rotating like this. This is one force in this direction, the other one force is like this, so it is exactly opposite to this direction of the force. So these two forces acting in the opposite direction, so that the wrench is rotating like this and it is easily removing the nut, fixed nut in the cars, okay. So these two forces will form the couple, okay, two equal forces in magnitude acting in the opposite direction here. Similarly, to understand better, you consider one more simple example. So you know bottle cap, okay. So to remove that cap, so we need to apply two force again, right? So like this, either this way or this way. To open or close, so we need to apply the two equal and opposite forces on the cap, then only it is possible to open or close the lid, okay. So the two forces always constitute the couple. Similarly, consider another example, steering wheel, okay. In case of steering wheel also, when you want to rotate the steering wheel, so you have to hold at the two opposite ends of the steering and you have to rotate like this, okay. So this gives clockwise rotation. If you want to rotate anti-clockwise direction, you need to hold again at the other end, two ends, and then you have to rotate like this, right? So clockwise direction and anti-clockwise direction. Rotation is possible by applying the two forces at the two ends of the wheels. Okay. So these two forces again constitute the couple. Clear? So like that you can see so many examples in our daily life. So for example, I mentioned here turning a key in a lock. Okay. If you want to open the lock, we need to put the key inside and then you have to rotate either this way or to open or close. Okay. So in that case also you are applying the two equal and opposite forces. Turning a water tap. Okay. And then pushing the pedals of the bicycle. We are applying two equal and opposite forces to rotate the pedals of the bicycle. And similarly a door can be opened or closed, okay, by applying the two forces. In that case actually you are applying only one force. It appears to be applying only one force at one side. So where is another force? It is at the hinge, okay. So that is acting in the opposite direction by itself, so that the two forces will rotate the door, okay. So we can give so many examples here. Now finally, what is the conclusion to understand the couple? So we can understand that two equal and opposite parallel forces. In all the cases we are considering two equal and opposite parallel forces not acting along the straight line. Okay, not acting along the straight line form a couple. Because if you consider the two equal and opposite forces along the straight line, okay, it won't give any turning effect. Okay, so you need to consider little bit separation between the two forces, so that the two equal and opposite force acting in the opposite direction can rotate the body. It should not be along the straight line. Clear? So that is the definition part of the couple also. Clear? Okay, now the question is how to calculate the moment of a couple. Okay, now look at this diagram. So we are considering a simple diagram to calculate the moment of a couple. So AB is a bar, okay. So it is pivoted at the point O. So it is at the center of the bar AB. So O is considered as the pivoted point. So that the distance between the two points at the ends A and B is considered as D. Okay. So we are applying the two forces at the points A and B. You just look at the direction of the forces. At the point A we have a downward force. Okay. At the point B we have a upward force. Okay. So these two forces are acting in the opposite direction, right? So the perpendicular distance between the two forces can be considered as D. So it is also called couple arm, right? Now, so in this diagram, so moment of the force is obtained by each force, right? So you can calculate that moment of force at the end A first. So that is given by as usual the product of the applied force and the perpendicular distance between the pivot point and the force applied, okay, at the place of the force applied. So that means F into OA, okay, means this distance OA. Okay, so this moment of the force at end A gives what kind of rotation? It gives anti-clockwise rotation like this. Now similarly calculate moment of the force at end B. Okay, so that is also given by the product of the force, okay, into the perpendicular distance between the pivoted point O and B. Okay, that is called OB, right? So this moment of the force at end B also gives anti-clockwise directional motion. Okay, so both the forces constitute the anti-clockwise rotation to the bar AB, right? So that you can expect the turning effect on the bar AB due to the two forces here. Okay, two equal and opposite forces gives the turning effect in the anti-clockwise direction. Then what is the total moment of the couple? So you have to consider the algebraic sum of the above two moments, that is F into OA plus F into OB. Okay, so in both the cases I said F is constant, so that is equal magnitude force it is. So you can just take common F. So left with OA plus OB. So in the diagram OA plus OB will give the total length of the arm, that is AB, correct? So AB can be considered as D, separation D. So F into D. So in words we can say total moment of the couple is the product of either force. We need not to consider both the forces magnitude here, only one force, that is either force F into perpendicular distance between the two forces. Perpendicular distance between the two forces is also called couple arm, isn't it? So in that way we can calculate the total moment of a couple. Clear? Now we have studied that the application of the force, it can produce either a linear motion or it can rotate the body. Two types of motion is possible by the application of force, right? Now in some circumstances it is possible to make the body to be at rest, or even if it is moving, you can expect that the rotating body continues to move without any disturbance even with the application of the force. How it is possible? In that case, so we need to apply number of forces, at least minimum 2 forces. That means number of applied forces, either 2 or more, can lead no change in the state of rest or linear motion. Okay, or you can say in terms of moments, algebraic sum of moments of all the forces about the fixed point is 0. That means rotational motion is also not disturbed. Okay, do not change in the rotational state of the body. So that particular state of the body, due to the application of 2 or more forces on the body, is called equilibrium state. Okay, so equilibrium state of the body is possible by the application of 2 or more forces on the body. So of course there are two types of equilibrium state of the body. So either it may be a static equilibrium or it may be dynamic equilibrium. Okay, so what is the difference between this static equilibrium and dynamic equilibrium? Let us see that now. Okay, now let us see the difference between the static equilibrium and dynamic equilibrium. Okay, see, in case of static equilibrium, when a body remains in a state of rest under the influence of several forces, then only the body is said to be in static equilibrium. Okay, that means the body should maintain its rest position. Okay, so whereas in case of dynamic equilibrium, when a body remains in the state of motion, okay, either it may be translational motion or rotational motion, okay, under the influence of several forces, then the body is said to be in dynamic equilibrium. Okay, that is the main difference. Clear? So in case of static equilibrium, static in the sense it is maintaining its rest position. Dynamic means it is moving and maintaining its motion with a constant velocity. Okay, so that is the difference when the application of several forces acts on the body. So we can understand these two differences with some examples still better. Okay, see, in case of static equilibrium, I will consider a book lying on the table. Simple example, right? See, here is a book lying on the table. Okay, it is at rest always. Why? It is balanced by two forces. What are the two forces? So one is its weight acting always in the downward direction. Okay, and another force is called normal force, always perpendicular to the surface of the object. Okay, so now these two equal and opposite forces makes the book to be always at rest. So these two equilibrium forces are making the body at rest. So we can say it is at static equilibrium. Similarly, you consider a body, either it is pulled on either side. See, consider a body like this and it is pulled in opposite direction on either side. So can you expect the body is moving in any direction? No. We are applying equal forces on either side, equal in magnitude but opposite in direction, that's it. So that two equal and opposite forces makes the body not to move in any direction. So this gives the static equilibrium to the body. Similarly, you consider a beam balance. Okay, very simple. So if you put some objects on one side of the pan in the beam balance, so these weights of the objects are balanced by putting some weights on other pan, right? So objects on this pan, so kept on the right side, makes the pan to rotate in the clockwise direction, right? So whereas the weights put on the left pan makes the pan to rotate in the anti-clockwise direction, right? So these clockwise and anti-clockwise rotations are balanced each other so that the beam is at rest, maintained at rest. So this gives the static equilibrium to the beam balance. Clear? Now similarly, you say look at some examples for dynamic equilibrium also. See, a falling raindrop. Simple example. A falling raindrop. It is always moving with constant velocity. Why? because it is balanced by some of the forces called air friction and buoyant forces acting in the upward direction. Okay, air friction and buoyant forces, both some of these two is acting in the opposite direction, whereas the raindrop is having certain weight, it is moving downwards due to that weight. Okay, so the resultant of these two forces makes the raindrop to move with the constant velocity called terminal velocity towards the surface of the earth. Clear? Similarly, the aeroplane moving at constant height. Okay, you consider aeroplane moving at the constant height. So it is balanced by two forces. What is that? One is its weight downward and upward lift. So these two forces balancing the aeroplane to move in at the constant height. Okay, from the surface of the earth it is moving in the constant height. So similarly, another example you consider, whirling stone tied at one end of a string. Okay, just you consider a string, tie a stone at one end and just you whirl it. Okay, so what happens? So it is moving in the circular path, right? With the constant velocity it is moving in the circular path. Okay, here is the stone. The tension created in the stone gives the required centripetal force so that the stone is moving in the circular path with constant velocity. Okay, so in that way, in all the cases, the body is moving in a constant velocity, so maintain its constant motion. So that is why it is called dynamic equilibrium with the application of more number of forces. Okay, so that is the difference between static equilibrium and dynamic equilibrium. Clear? Okay, now let us see how the equilibrium takes place, with what conditions we can achieve the equilibrium in a given body. So we can understand the 2 points here. One is the resultant of all forces acting on the body should be 0, right? That is sum of all the forces. You can write in the mathematical form as sigma Fi, where I is equal to 1 to n. So indicating n number of forces, sum of n number of forces should be equal to 0. Whatever may be the force, it is 2 or more, sum of all the forces should be equal to 0 is the first condition. Similarly, if you calculate the moments of the force, the algebraic sum of moments of all the forces acting on the body about the point of rotation also should be 0. Okay, so that is second condition. Then only the body is said to be at equilibrium. Correct? So from the second condition, we can say at equilibrium, sum of anti-clockwise movements is equal to sum of clockwise movements also, because you know that the anti-clockwise movements can be considered as negative, whereas clockwise movements can be considered as positive. Okay, so if you consider the total sum of anti-clockwise movements, so that should be equal to sum of clockwise movements, then the body is said to be equilibrium. So that particular condition is called principle of moments. Okay, so in that way we can understand the principle of moments. So let us try to verify this principle of moments with a simple example here. Okay, so in the verification of principle of moments, you consider a metallic metallic scale in the form of a scale. Then if you consider the two weights so that it can be hanged on either side, so the weight W1 with the help of a spring, you just hang it at the point A. Similarly, you consider another weight W2 hang at another point B, okay, on either side. So the beam can be balanced at the point O. Okay, O is the center of the beam, center of gravity is at O, so this can be considered center of the beam. So it is, the beam is fixed at the support here, fixed support with the help of a string. Okay, now the beam should be always horizontal, then only we can say it is in the equilibrium condition. Okay, suppose if I put the two weights W1 and W2 at equal distances, we can expect that the beam is in the horizontal position. Suppose if we change the weights, what happens? Depending upon the weight, whichever the weight is larger, okay, so the higher weight can make the beam to bend downwards. Okay, so lighter weight will move upwards. So in that case, what you can do, again, to achieve the equilibrium condition, you have to move the position. Okay, you have to move the position of the weight W2, so we can bring back the horizontal scale in the beam can be in the horizontal position. Okay, so now in this case, so what kind of rotation can be expected? So with the help of the weight W1, So it is actually giving the beam to rotate in the clockwise direction. Okay, so we can calculate the corresponding clockwise movement. So the clockwise movement of the weight due to W1 about the point O is given by the magnitude of the weight as a force W1 into the perpendicular distance from the center of suspension. So that is measured as here L1. From point O to A it is equal to L1. So W1 into L1 will give you the clockwise moment of the weight W1. Similarly, so this W2 is giving the anti-clockwise movement to the beam, so that you can calculate the anti-clockwise movement of the weight of W2 about the point O as the product of this weight W2 into the perpendicular distance from the point O to the point of suspension B. So that is equal to L2. W2 into L2 gives the anti-clockwise movement. Okay. Now, so when you adjust the positions, so L1 and L2 is adjusted in such a way that the beam is maintained horizontal. That is the equilibrium condition, isn't it? So in equilibrium, meter rule is horizontal. Then you can expect that the product W1 into L1 should be equal to W2 into L2. Okay. So this is the equation to get the equilibrium in a beam. So when W1 is into L1 is equal to W2 into L2, what you can say? So clockwise movement is equal to anti-clockwise movement. So that is the principle of moments. So you can verify the principle of moment by doing this simple experiment. Clear? So I hope you understood all concepts starting from the couple up to the principle of moments in this video. Clear? Thank you.